If Venus attracts money, Jupiter multiplies it. And I don't know who doesn't want their money to be multiplied. All right, when Jupiter makes a major move in your chart, it can feel like the universe opens a door. There's either new income streams, lucky breaks, or growth you didn't see coming. All right, and so today we're talking about Jupiter transits and how they expand your finances when you know how to work with them. All right, so if you want to know more, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So, today we are talking all about Jupiter transits. Now, we spoke about Jupiter before in week 2 when we spoke about Venus and Jupiter together and what they mean in your natal chart for abundance. Like, literally, with both of them, it's like where abundance lies. But now we're taking this in the same direction, but a little different. We're talking just about Jupiter. But not just Jupiter in your natal chart, Jupiter transits. This is when Jupiter is moving through the sky and it is pinging different planets or points in your natal chart and what that could all mean for your financial story. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, so when it comes to Jupiter transits and money expansion, I want you to think about and reflect on this core idea. All right, so Jupiter is the planet of growth, optimism, and opportunity. In astrology, it's known as the Greater Benefic, meaning that it bestows the most abundant and positive energy. It's the planet of luck, it's the planet of good fortune, and most importantly, it expands everything that it touches. All right. And so, whenever Jupiter is transiting, that's where your life and your money want to stretch. So, when I talk about a Jupiter transit, let's say that you've got Jupiter going through your second house. So, let's say your second house is Gemini, right? So, when Jupiter is currently in the sign of Gemini, that means that Jupiter is moving through your second house. And so, when it comes to money and your personal finances, because that is what the second house covers, Jupiter in your second house wants to expand that. So Jupiter wants you to make more money. Jupiter wants you to experience more abundance. And how is it going to do that? It's going to do that based off the characteristics of the sign of your second house. So if you've got Gemini as your second house, like I'm using in this example, which means you're a Taurus rising, Jupiter wants to expand your money, wants to give you more money. And to do that, you're going to have to either talk more, teach, learn new skills, communicate with people more, follow your curiosity. That is how your money will expand. Okay. Now, Jupiter, because it is the planet of abundance, it also affects your money, even if it's not traveling through a money house. So let's say that it is traveling through your 8th house of intimacy. Well, the 8th house is one of the money houses. Let's say it's traveling through your 7th house of partnerships. Now, keep in mind, partnerships could also include business partnerships. So if you've got Jupiter going through your 7th house, Jupiter wants you to perhaps get in other relationships or expand existing relationships in order to give you more abundance. Okay. But either way, wherever Jupiter is transiting, that's where your life and your money want to stretch and expand. All right. So that's definitely something important to keep in mind. So here are some of the big Jupiter money transits. Okay. And the first one, as always, is when Jupiter is transiting your second house. So this could mean major increases in income potential, new clients or pay raises, or additional streams of income. This is literally your personal finances expanding. So this is different ways for you to make money personally. Okay. Next, we've got Jupiter transiting your 6th house. Now, keep in mind, your 6th house is the house of work and health. So it's the house where You have your 9 to 5, you have your daily routine, right? And those daily routines could generate money, especially if we're talking about a 9 to 5, right? So if Jupiter is transiting your sixth house, there could be a boost in daily work, a boost in productivity, or new job opportunities. All right. There could also be increased responsibilities or improved routines that can lead to higher income or better working conditions. All right. So either way, Jupiter is like, listen, we're going to expand what you're doing on a daily basis. And so this could mean better working conditions, a higher salary, higher hourly rate, or just more efficient or more organized routines that could lead to more abundance. So those are also important as well. Okay, so next, let's say that Jupiter is transiting your eighth house, which is the house of shared resources. So when this is happening, your shared resources expand. You also have expansion when it comes to investments and funding. So let's say you have a business, maybe even you work with business partners. This could be when investments pop off or when you're seeking funding and now more money is coming in, right? The eighth house is also shared resources. So your partner could be making more money. Let's say that you are married. Perhaps your partner gets a raise or a promotion that comes with the raise, right? That could be very emblematic of what happens during an eighth house Jupiter transit. Now, the caveat here, especially with the eighth house is the house of debt. And remember what I said before, Jupiter expands everything. So when Jupiter is transiting your eighth house, this could be increased debt, increased interest rates, and things of that nature. We talk about Jupiter being the greater benefic. We talk about it bestowing abundance, but it goes both ways. It can expand the good. It could also expand the not so good. So definitely keep that in mind. The next Jupiter transit that is important is when Jupiter is transiting your 10th house. And your 10th house is your house of career, public life, and reputation. So when Jupiter is transiting your 10th house, there could be increased career visibility, success, leadership opportunities, or it's great for promotions or even launches. So if you work for somebody else, if you are trying to get a promotion, a Jupiter transit in your 10th house would be great for that. If you are a business owner, now keeping in mind that there are other factors when it comes to determining the best time for things. Generally speaking, a Jupiter transit would be a great time to launch a new product or even a new business. All right. Now, here's a Jupiter transit that you may not necessarily think of because it doesn't cover the money houses or the houses that sort of even indirectly correlate to money. When you've got Jupiter transiting your first house, this could mean confidence, a glow up, or maybe even a personal rebrand that attracts new professional or financial opportunities. Now, in one of my earlier videos in week one was the foundation for this series. I told about your rising sign and how your rising sign could really signify how people associate you. And so it could really affect what kind of financial opportunities come your way. And so when Jupiter is transiting your first house, this could be a time when abundant opportunities find you because people sort of associate you with abundance. You're either larger than life or you've had this glow up that just naturally attracts people and opportunities. All right. So Jupiter transit in the first house can also definitely affect your money. So the next Jupiter transit that you also may not think about is when Jupiter is transiting your fifth house. Now, the fifth house is the house of creativity, it's the house of romance, and it's the house of children. Now, this is very interesting. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he is someone that I've recently started watching a lot of his videos on YouTube, and his name is David Guillaume, and he talks about Kabbalah. And in Kabbalah, it is said that, when you have more children, your abundance or your ability to contain abundance increases, probably because you have more mouths to feed. But children are a source of abundance. And so if you have a fifth house Jupiter transit, you could literally be giving birth to children, or more likely, you may be giving birth to creative projects, side hustles, or passion based income. And by doing so, that's how you expand or grow your financial situation. It could be a time of increased creativity and creativity that creates abundance for you. So that's really dope. And then finally, we talk about Jupiter and the 11th house. Now, the 11th house is known as the house where you wish upon a star. But more importantly, specifically for this series, when we're talking about money, the 11th house is the house of gains. And so when Jupiter transits your 11th house, this is when you can literally get more money. More money comes to you, especially from work you've done in the 10th house, meaning work from your career, work from your business, right? Jupiter transiting your 11th house could mean more networking, more community, maybe even a greater digital presence. And all of these things become money magnets. All right. And so those are the major Jupiter transits that could, when they happen, they're really the universe trying to stretch you and to grow your abundance. So let's talk about Jupiter by aspect. All right. And so when we talk about Jupiter transits, again, we're talking about Jupiter moving through the sky currently. And so now when I'm talking about aspects, I'm talking about when Jupiter moving through the sky makes certain configurations to other planets or points in your natal chart. All right. So first, we've got conjunctions, trines, or sextiles. Specifically, if Jupiter is conjunct, trine, or sextile to Venus, or to the ruler of your second house. All right. And if this seems like it's going over your head, don't worry about it. I've got some extra resources in the description box below. Plus, you can also join Cosmic Collective to learn more. All right. But during these kind of transits, this is when you experience effortless expansion. It's that sort of right place, right time kind of opportunity, or you get really lucky breaks or lucky collaborations. All right. And again, that is when Jupiter is either conjunct, trine, or sextile to Venus in your natal chart or the ruler of your second house in your natal chart. Next, let's talk about squares or oppositions. This is when Jupiter is having a harsh or a not so good conversation with another planet in your natal chart. All right. And so this is when you experience things like overconfidence, overspending, overexerting yourself. And if that's the case, that requires balance between optimism and practicality. The thing about Jupiter is going to make you feel happy-go-lucky, feel like you could win a bunch of money at the casino. It gives you this sort of larger-than-life ideology and mentality. And you're very attuned to abundance, but on a very big and grand scale, optimistic, right? When you're experiencing a Jupiter transit that is like making a harsh aspect to like Saturn or Mars in your natal chart, it's going to require you to strike a balance between optimism and practicality. Be optimistic about abundance, but be real about your present situations. All right. So now let's get into some timing tips to keep in mind when we're talking about Jupiter transits. So first and foremost, Jupiter spends about 1 year per sign, making these cycles gradual but powerful. So unlike a planet like Mercury, right, that moves really fast and only spends like 3 weeks in a sign, Jupiter spends a year. So if you're having a Jupiter transit, like let's say you're having Jupiter transit your second house, it gives you a year to kind of get your shit together. It gives you a year to focus on money. Or even if Jupiter is transiting your sixth house, your 10th house, or your 11th house, like I mentioned before, you have a whole year to sort of get it together and use the energy to your advantage. All right. When Jupiter changes houses, it signals your next financial growth chapter. So when Jupiter changes houses and therefore changes signs, it's like you take whatever lessons you learned from the last Jupiter residency in that sign, and then you take it and you move forward with it. So again, it signifies your next financial growth chapter. Interesting stuff, right? All right. So now let's get into some quick integration tips and why this even matters. All right. So first, Jupiter rewards faith. Faith is a really big one when it comes to Jupiter, right? Faith, optimism, and preparation. So abundance, as much as Jupiter bestows abundance, right? You kind of have to believe in abundance, right? We attract what we are a vibrational match to. And so that faith and belief and optimism is what allows Jupiter to bless you with, that faith and optimism in abundance. Did I say that right? That faith and optimism in abundance is what allows Jupiter to bring abundance to you. It's very hard to take advantage of Jupiter energy if you're like, I want $1 million. Oh, but I don't think I can get it. Oh, I want a new job, but it's not going to happen. Like, you have to have faith and you have to be optimistic. Plus preparation. Now, Jupiter being the greater benefic, it's like, okay, it's kind of effortless. There isn't too much that has to be done, but it doesn't mean that you just sit on your couch and wait for someone to deliver $1 million to your home, right? Preparation and a little bit of inspired action based off faith is how you meet Jupiter halfway and how Jupiter will bless you exponentially, all right? You can't manifest abundance from doubt. And one of the things that Jupiter teaches us is to believe bigger, to dream bigger. Jupiter is the ruling planet of both Sagittarius and Pisces. These are two signs that are all about the bigger picture, about imagination, about going into upper stratospheres, right? Doubt is what keeps you limited and small. And for Jupiter to bless you, you kind of have to think bigger. Okay. Now, again, you may have to balance this with practicality. However, think big, dream big, be faithful, have optimism, and Jupiter will definitely bless you. All right. When you meet opportunity with readiness, expansion becomes sustainable wealth. I'm going to repeat that again. When you meet opportunity with readiness, expansion becomes sustainable wealth. I love that. Because, like I said before, Jupiter wants to bless you. But again, it's not going to bless you by you just sitting on the couch and waiting for shit to come to you. When you are prepared, when you show up ready, optimistically ready and faithful, not only does your money and your financial story expand, but the most important part is that it becomes sustainable. And that's what we want. Jupiter has a propensity to expand, to grow. And that can be unsustainable sometimes. Maybe you're growing too fast and you're not structured enough. When you infuse a little bit of practicality, readiness, right? When you meet opportunity with readiness and a little bit of practicality, that's when your wealth and your money sticks. I don't know about you, but that's everything that I want. I don't want to make $1 million and lose it the next day. I want to sustain what I have. And so when you meet opportunity with readiness, expansion becomes sustainable wealth. I love that for us. And speaking of expansion and sustainability, in my signature natal chart experience, the blueprint, I show you exactly where Jupiter is expanding your financial potential this year. So not only do I detail and explain to you what Jupiter is doing in your natal chart, so basically how you are designed to engage with abundance, but in the 30-day money map, you'll understand what Jupiter will be doing in the following months. So you know exactly how to plan your money moves, all right? And in my upcoming self-paced course, Charted, you'll learn how to track Jupiter's transits yourself so you can plan launches and make money moves with cosmic precision. You will understand how to read your natal chart and even how to track the movement of the planets from soup to nuts. So you'll know exactly what Jupiter's doing in the sky and how that will affect you, all right? And how to best take advantage of that energy. And so if you're interested in signing up for the waitlist for that, the link will be in the description box below. All right, my loves, so that's pretty much all I've got for you for this video on Jupiter transits and how they expand your wealth. So to recap, Jupiter transits equal opportunity, optimism, and growth if you can stay grounded while saying yes to more. All right, so don't forget to take the Abundance Archetype quiz. You'll find the link to that in the description box below. If you've got questions or you want to tune in for this week's live Q&A, join us over in Cosmic Collective. And of course, don't forget to enter the giveaway, which is running all month long. And again, I will be gifting up to 3 blueprint experiences, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that. All right, and so join me tomorrow where we'll be looking at the flip side of the coin, which are Saturn transits and how they teach you the discipline, the patience, and structure that keeps your money growing for the long run. Very important stuff. All right, my loves. So that concludes this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.